Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 7th, 2021 Smyrna Municipal Planning meeting. And with that, Tony, you'll have our prayer, and Andrew, you'll follow with the pledge. Stand, please.
Most gracious Father, we just come before you today humbled and asking, Father, your blessing on this country and blessing on this city. As we move into a new year, Father, we have so many opportunities ahead of us, and we just pray, Father, for your guidance and your wisdom. We ask that you bless this body as we deliberate to do the business of the city, and that you always guide our actions to be pleasing to you. Father, in all things, we ask in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Tony and Andrew. Citizens' comments.
There are none at this time.
Okay, moving on to our next item, approval of the minutes of the December 3rd, 2020 meeting. Counselor, are they in order?
In order as to form, Chairman.
Has the commission had a chance to review?
Move to approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and multiple seconds to approve. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. On to new business, our first item tonight, under annexation and plan and service, Sami Syed, 6070 Seminary Road, annexation and R3 zoning. Kevin.
Yes, this is a request for two separate tracts of land totaling about 8/10 of an acre. They have property that is addressed at 6070 Seminary Road. There is a house on one of the tracts. They are requesting it to be annexed and zoned R3. The surrounding zoning is a mix of R1 and I2 in town, and then RM in Rutherford County. Future land use plan would support medium-density residential development in this area. Sewer is nearby. It's not at the site. That will have to be extended about 200 feet, and they are aware of that. Water services will be provided by CUD at this area, and the fire flow requirement of 1,000 gallons per minute can be met at this site by CUD, so that is not an issue. And of course, all other services will be provided by the town. That's about all I have.
Kevin, how does RM compare to R3?
It's R1, essentially.
Okay.
Very similar, 15,000 square foot lot size minimum.
So with an R3, we're looking at a 10,000 square foot
Correct.
minimum. And is this calculation I'm looking at, there's a total, when you combine 34,987 and a half? Is that
It's
correct?
pretty close, yeah, about 8/10 of an acre. Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
Okay. Have we looked at this parcel before?
We have. It was looked at with the adjoining parcel to the west. And at the time, that request was for, I believe,
Wasn't it commercial?
it was a C4 zoning, I believe,
Yeah.
at the time.
Okay.
And that was, and the neighbor to the west, which was a separate ownership at the time, was basically withdrew her request. Did not want to be included in it. And at the time it got to council, actually, the request was denied at that time.
And as I recall, there were several folks that were more opposed to it just being from a commercial perspective than
Correct.
residential.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Other questions for Kevin?
Not for Kevin, but I would like to ask you and Mark what the council's opinion is on R3 zoning for that area one and for a lot size that small.
The one thing in addition to that, Tony, is,
The next request.
well, what about septic versus sewer there?
Yep.
Yeah, they are aware of the need, and it's my understanding they're planning to be a part of that. They know that sewer has to be run, and they're going to run the sewer. I think they're.
It's about the only way probably that they can do
Yeah.
what they're asking to do.
It is, and they're, my understanding at least, they're looking at taking these two tracks, combining them together, and basically creating three out of the two, basically, so one additional lot. keeping the existing house and building 2 additional homes. Haven't seen a plat, I don't know what, anything, that's just my understanding is what they're wanting to do.
But in doing so, we're still at a 10,000 square foot minimum.
10,000 square foot minimum, yes. And the R1 zoning, that is, all this area is R1. It was when, this area was annexed when the Sewage Creek schools were built. And we annexed basically everything between Poplar Wood Road and Morton Lane to go westward to the schools. At that time, we could annex people without a request. And it was just kind of a default R1, which is
Yeah.
what they were already zoned in the county.
We had that.
Equivalent.
We had that discussion somewhere along Rock Springs as well, did we not? There was some other area that we discussed that R1 was kind of the default.
Probably Rocky Fork Road area.
Okay.
Because
Maybe
we
that's what
annexed
I'm
that whole
thinking.
large area when we went all the way to I-24 at one time, because we were getting piecemeal requests, and we just kind of one time annexed everything all the way to the interstate at one time. There was a lot of default.
And that still
along
allowed
there.
for, or did it still allow at that time for any agricultural use? If that
Yes,
was,
and it
yeah.
still does, yes.
Okay.
R1's 15,000?
Yes.
You said the current structure that's there, the current house that's there, is staying, as far as
That's
you
my-
know?
That's my understanding, yes.
And everything around this, where it says county is, of course, it's in county now, so
Yes,
that's kind of an island there between the I-2 and the R1.
right, yeah. Basically, if you go the area between Seminary and Poplarwood, and as you go up, of course, Poplarwood then turns to the west, and that whole area is still under the county jurisdiction.
Okay.
Kevin, what is staff's
I mean,
recommendation on this?
This is consistent with the land use plan, and we're completely fine with the request.
Okay.
Kevin, I'm assuming the driveways would have to be placed on Seminary. The one lot there, does it have potential to come out on Poplarwood?
You would have the potential for one on the Poplarwood, I would think. I don't really know. I haven't seen a subdivision plat of any type yet, so I can't speak to that. But based on, if you're looking at 3 lots, I think you would probably have at least one on Poplarwood. And of course, you have the signal at Poplarwood and Seminary. It already is, it's of course in existence already. Was there when we annexed the area. So we would have to look at that from a driveway standpoint and the distance from that signal, certainly. But as a single-family residence, the traffic impact would not be too great.
Other questions for Kevin? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve based on staff recommendations, staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff recommendations and comments. Do I have a second?
I'll be glad to second.
Got a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is Sean Collins, 8706 Rocky Fork, Amelville Road, annexation in R3 zoning. Kevin?
Yes, this is an annexation and R3 zoning request, 8706 Rocky Fork, Allenville Road. There is an existing house on this property. It's 4.8 acres. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R3 and PRD, which are the Blakeney and Cedar Hills PRDs, and RM in Rutherford County. The future land use plan in this location would also support medium-density residential development here as well. Gravity sewer is available off-site. The line serving Westover is the closest available, and it is approximately 1,900 feet away. Water is provided by CUD, and the fire flow requirement is not adequate at this time. There are several upgrades going on out there, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think this one would fall under one of those upgrades. It's currently 500 gallons a minute there, and it needs to be 1,000. Before any development could occur, they would have to meet that requirement. And that is all that I have.
Questions for Kevin? Kevin, I'm going to assume from the comments and whatnot, this would fit what we're doing.
It does. And I mean, you have a higher density PRDs, and R3 is what you have in this area, so it fairly fits in with our plans.
So it's right there with the mix of what we're seeing.
Right.
And then I also recall that we have several developments that were approved pending. Well, they were approved, and I guess the construction wouldn't begin, or part of the process wouldn't begin until the fire flow was improved.
They could get any building permits to build
Right.
homes, correct.
So this is just the same as that as well?
Right.
Okay. Other questions for Kevin? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Chairman, I'm going to abstain from voting or discussing this one.
So please, Mark is not participating or voting in this discussion.
And I'll make a motion to approve based on staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with one abstention. Our next item, rezoning request. Dr. Egbert Rivera, Pinto Place Townhomes, Pinto Drive, rezoning C2 to PRD. Give me a tough time.
Yeah, this is a rezoning request. This is a parcel that you all have seen once before. This is a revision to the request that you saw before. The request is to rezone this parcel of land, which is about 2.14 acres, from C2 to PRD. The proposed PRD is for a 22-unit townhome development. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R4 and C2, and the land use plan would support an office, retail, multifamily mix in this area. We had a few comments which are similar to what we saw last time regarding some utility improvements, which is a water line will have to be extended from Joyner Drive to serve this lot. That's at the corner of Joyner and Pinto, so it would have to come across that lot there. And then gravity sewer will have to connect to the line on Joyner Drive near the proposed detention pond, which is kind of in the northeast corner of the development. And they would have to would be required to get an easement from the adjoining property owner to achieve that. We did ask them to show that there were a couple of spots that didn't have the minimum building setback shown, and they have taken care of that, so we can remove that comment. Number 7, again, this is the same as what we had before. This would have to have a type C buffer strip along all the property lines other than along Pinto Drive, and we're showing street trees and all along Pinto as well. And then this was just for their information because this is adjacent to the nursing home. They would not be able to have a burn permit when they clear the site. That's again really for their information purposes only. And then we did ask them we still have not received an actual completed, just our one-page application, so would like them to complete that. Again, you all did look at this before. Before this, the layout is similar. It was 27 units before, and now it's 22, so they have reduced it by 5. So you went from about a 12.6 unit per acre density to 10.3, roughly 10.28 units per acre. So it is more in keeping with what you would typical townhome density, what we would typically see. They kind of achieve that. There was one long building along Pinto Drive. It was about 9 units, and now it's 2 4-unit buildings. So that's where they removed 1 unit. On the side, as you go into the project, there was one 11-unit building that now is a 4 and a 6, so that's where they lost one of the units. And then there was one 3-unit building in the area, kind of in the middle where there's the playground and amenity area is shown. And so that's where the 5 units have been removed. I think by doing that, it kind of breaks up the buildings, and so it gives a better look for the project. Also, and by reducing the number of units, the parking is still roughly the same, so your parking situation's a little bit better as far as provided parking for the project. And then again, just the overall density it's now more in keeping with what we would typically see on a townhome project. So we feel a lot better about this project with this submittal than we did prior to the prior submittal, certainly. So as staff, and I believe that's all that I have. Again, as far as architectural, we'll touch base on that. It's very similar in architectural as what they had shown before, which is in meeting with our requirements. It's a brick, stone, hardy kind of mix. That didn't change from what you saw before, and that really wasn't a concern of ours before either. But
So staff is satisfied with these changes, and is it something that you're willing to recommend to the planning commission?
yes,
One question, how do you see this residential development fitting in with what we're doing with the live-work community that we're trying to build or encourage for Lowry Street?
well, I think it's a little bit off of Lowry, obviously, but I think it certainly fits kind of, it's more residential housing near Lowry Street, so certainly it provides more market for the commercial area along Lowry Street, certainly. And these are mostly 3-bedroom units, so there is parking somewhat more 2 families as well. So I think certainly that is again, just a fit kind of with the overall, this portion of town. You have the park, 2 parks actually in fairly close proximity, being Soccer Park as well as the Gregory Mill, those kind of things. And so I think it does fit with we had commercial property to the southeast at one point. That has all been now R4, and those 0 lot line duplex units have been built there, with a couple more, I believe, still to be built. You have daycares in the area. You have it really kind of is a fit, really, I think, for the area at this density.
Questions for Kevin?
Kevin, with this being developed, it's going to put a lot of pervious area on top, right, of what's currently pretty much absorption in soil.
Sure.
So I know you guys have probably looked at the calcs, and you've got the detention pond and everything here in place. Are we assured that this won't add any kind of water dump on a neighbor or anything, neighboring properties or anything like that?
They'll have to comply with our stormwater requirements. We have not looked at that at this point. That's really something we look at more with the site plan. They have, conceptually, they do show the detention pond. Water naturally kind of flows to kind of toward that northeastern corner.
Right.
And so that's where the pond is shown, but we have not seen that yet. That would come with the site plan if this is approved.
That'll have to meet our requirements, though,
Absolutely.
to make sure we don't.
All the stormwater
Affect
quality and
neighboring
quantity
properties,
requirements,
okay.
absolutely.
And I noticed they did mention HOA as far as enforcement of several things. This
Yes.
would be a third-party HOA.
This would be a third-party HOA, yes.
Okay.
So when this first came to us, we all talked about how we liked the looks of it, but density was just a little too much there, and I appreciate the changes that were made. To Kevin's point, I do like the look of this a lot better now, even though it looked fine before. I think it's a good improvement to it. Appreciate you working with us on that.
Kevin, before we move forward, I didn't hear you mention the mailbox or postal.
I believe they got one
Situation.
shown. Again, that's something we look at a little bit more specifically at the site plan. I do believe there's one I can get to that sheet.
Kind of in the middle where the.
In the
It is in the middle,
next
I'm
the
trying to
handicap
see.
parking.
It's a little more clear, I think, on page.
Page 7
Yeah.
shows it pretty well. There's, as you come into the, I guess that's the southeasternmost entranceway, and it is pretty well centrally located amongst all the units there. That's where they've got it shown, kind of in the middle of the project, middle of the parking area, right there.
Right up on the corner there.
Yeah, it looks like there's a couple spaces by that.
Yeah.
There's a couple spaces specifically there, which obviously could be used for that, or the residents who live in that first unit or something, certainly, but.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Staff comments?
I have a motion from Tony to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Andrew. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next item under rezoning request is from James Victory for 1896 and 1907 Rock Springs Road, a rezoning from R1 to C2.
Yeah, this is two separate tracts of land, two separate addresses. There's a house on each parcel. Total is about 2.79 acres for both parcels together. Currently zoned R1. Surrounding zoning is a mix of R1 and C2. Land use plan would support a mix of office, retail, multifamily here. And we did, again, for their information, because of the proximity to the hospital, they would not be, if they are allowed to burn at all, they would have to go to TDEC air pollution to get that. Typically would probably just have to clear it by removing it or by chipping it up. Again, that was really for their information more than anything. And there is the sewer main, is stubbed to this property that is from the adjoining commercial property to the west, but they would have to extend it across as well to serve. We couldn't just use the existing manhole; they would have to extend it to the east. Again, this is consistent with a lot of the surrounding zoning. Most of everything on the north side of Rock Springs Road, it has recently or over the last several years been rezoned to the C2 zone. And this is, again, these are two existing homes, but they obviously will be redeveloped at some point if this rezoning is approved. Certainly, we would recommend it to you.
Yeah, and I would add, I think the Stonecrest has driven a lot of this commercial development, especially toward the north, where we're seeing more and more medical office and
Right.
services along that way for the community.
The three parcels that are R1, do they all have homes on currently now, Kevin, do you know?
Yes.
I know the one there to the left you can't see, but
There's one that's very far off the road, that basically just has a driveway back to a house. And then there are the other two tracks that are between that one and these two,
Okay.
do have homes on them, yes.
Other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve with staff comment.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments from Mark. Do I have a second?
second.
Second from Mike. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're on to final plats. First one is Westover Phase 1A, Rocky Fork, Hamilville Road, and Marchant Road, or Drive, and the developer is Westover Developers LLC.
Yeah, this is, these next two are both part of Westover Phase 1. This is Phase 1A. This is a part of the Westover PRD. It's 33 lots on 11.75 acres. We had a few comments. Some of these are standard comments, certainly regarding signage, and then the owner's signature and CUD signature would have to be submitted, signed before they could submit it to us for our signatures for recording. We had, there's a couple of locations where there were some easements that needed to be labeled. And there's still a couple of those on lots, and we're going to add this just for just to clarify for them, it's lots 17, 27, and 28 are the three lots that need those easements shown and labeled. I think they may be shown, but they're not really labeled as easements. And there's some stormwater improvements in those areas that need to be in an easement. So, so we need to keep that comment number 3 with that amendment. Comment number 4 regarding the mail kiosk for Phase 1 is actually a part of Phase 1B. And since this plat could be recorded with homes being built before Phase 1B is recorded with homes being built, we wanted to be sure the mail kiosk is built as a part of this phase. And so they have shown that with the kiosk as well as the road and parking and everything for that would be a part of this. Shown on, it's kind of on the, if you look at the plat, it's the very far right-hand side for that. So it will be a part of this, even if Phase 1B doesn't get recorded for a year afterwards or whatever. It would be, the mail kiosk would be provided. So they've taken care of that one. Comments 5 through 8 were comments that CUD sent us. And the most important one of those, we would want to keep those. The most important one of those being number 5. Fire flow can't be met yet, but there is an improvement that's supposed to be completed by this spring, which will take care of that. So again, we can't issue any building permits in this phase until that's completed. But again, it's our understanding from CUD that's very close to completion. So, and that's what I have. It's consistent with the PUD and the preliminary plat, yes.
Other questions for Kevin? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve with staff comments.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve with staff comments. Further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor to approve this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2 under final plats, Westover Phase 1B, Kennebec Drive, developer Westover Developers LLC.
Yeah, again, this is just the second phase or second part of Phase 1 here. With this is 30 more lots, 10.14 acres, again, part of the Westover PRD. Again, comments 1 and 2 are standard comments and would need to remain. Comment number 3 would need to remain. There's a small track on this labeled as Reserve Parcel A. There's some, it was not going to be a part of this plat. Really, it's going to be transferred to the adjoining property owner as a part of a deal between the two owners. And so that needs to happen before this plat is recorded. Otherwise, that track would be an unbuildable lot. So they would need to just show that documentation on the final plat when it's submitted for signatures. So we would need to keep that comment. We had to comment again regarding the easements. On this one, those all have been taken care of, so we can remove number 4. Number 5, we'd ask them to dimension the length for the parking spaces. That's been taken care of now, so we can remove number 5. And again, comments 6 through 9 were from CUD, and again, we have the same comment regarding the fire flow. And again, it'll have to be completed before they can get any building permits in this section. So regarding the upgrade, it's near completion. So again, we can remove comments 4 and 5, but we would want to keep the rest of those comments, and we can recommend approval with those comments.
Questions for Kevin? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve with staff comment.
I have a motion to approve with staff comments from Andrew. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mike. Further discussion? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On the site plans, first item, Duo Fast, 841 Seven Oaks Boulevard, owner, developer, Butch Johnson.
Yeah, Mitch is going to handle this one.
I was wondering if Mitch was here or not.
Present.
Snuck in there, Mitch.
This is a proposed site plan for Duo Fast, which is located on Seven Oaks Boulevard, borders Lee Victory Parkway and I-24 in the rear of the property. Property consists of 4.08 acres. Majority of this property is within the 100-year floodplain as well, with some floodway present. The property is Zone C2. Surrounding properties are also Zone C2 and is across the street from the village's subdivision. Site would have 2 ingress and egress locations, both of which would be off of Seven Oaks Boulevard. Vehicular use area for this property, 34,998 square feet, which would require just shy of 3,500 square feet of landscaping. They are meeting that requirement with 6,805 square feet of landscaping. Total parking requirement of 12 spaces. They are proposing for 13, with 1 handicap space required, and they're meeting that requirement as well. Landscape plan shows shrubs be planted along Seven Oaks Boulevard, with trees planted along the adjoining property line to the north and around the paved area near the rear of the property. Architectural elevations for this building show a mixture of brick and EIFS products. The lower half of the building elevations are shown to be constructed with brick, and the upper half would be EIFS on all sides. As far as the floodway, the rear of the property is comprised of floodway, mostly of the 100-year floodplain and partly 500-year. Portion of the proposed building is planned to be built within the 100-year floodplain as well. The minimum finished floor elevation within the 100-year floodplain must be at least 1 foot above the base flood elevation. Had several standard comments for this. A couple of them at the end we'll go over. Comment 6. We had any alterations to the floodplain will require a review and approval by FEMA. The engineer did state they understood this comment. And 7, an approval letter will be needed to be submitted from TDOT showing approval to Bird for this property. The engineer did mark that they noted this comment. They did add to the plans as well, but we would like to keep this as a standard comment. A couple staff comments. Staff comment 1 regarding rock diameter at the construction entrance needs to be 2 to 4 inches. On the profile images, on the details page, the 2 images they showed have differing rock diameters and depths, so we'd like to keep that comment. Staff comment 2 regarding the signage. They did show a proposed ground sign to be shown on the site plan, but it is located on top of a water line, so we'd like this sign to be relocated elsewhere. Signage does come at a later time, but we'd still like this comment to remain. Comment 3 regarding the square footage of vehicular use area, that comment has been addressed and updated, so that comment can be taken off. Staff comment 4, the flood elevations shown for the site and the building were incorrect on the previous submittal. The base flood elevation shown is 540.5 feet. Minimum finished floor elevation is shown at 536.6 feet. The finished floor elevation is shown at 640.5 feet, so there's about a 100-foot discrepancy right there. The base flood elevation is 540.5 feet, and the minimum finished floor elevation would need to be at least 1 foot above, which would be the 541.5 feet. All this to be said, this new plan they did submit did address these issues we had. We can't verify if these numbers are 100% accurate. These are going to be FEMA numbers, so if these numbers are correct, though, staff is okay with removal of this comment. We just wanted to bring it to your attention tonight, just because we can't verify these numbers, but like I said, if they're accurate, we're okay with it. That's all I got.
Question for Mitch. Mitch is classified as office/warehouse. I'm not familiar with Duo Fast. What type of operation?
They provide nails.
If you could just come up and state your name and address. It's all right.
I'm Blake Smith. I'm the contractor for the project. The owner was unable to be here. Duo Fast sells nails to framers for housing, and that would be the warehouse, and they would the framers would drive in there with a pickup truck and get their nails.
So just exactly that, distribution, no manufacturing or anything along that line?
No, it's
Okay.
not at all. And they don't have a lot of truck traffic, I estimate, it's maybe a couple a week kind of thing. It's not a heavy truck thing, but they do have a lot of pickup trucks come in there.
As far as our trades folks coming in?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, you're good. Any other questions for Mitch?
Question, I guess, for Mitchell or Kevin. How is this side of that road kind of shaping up in design review? Is this matching up? I can't think of everything that's down through there, but I'm thinking there's probably a little bit more brick facade than EFS facade there.
Well, the racetrack is almost completely brick. Then you have the
Family Solutions.
the Tennessee Family Solutions building, which is pretty much all brick. As you go further down Seven Oaks Boulevard, you have the office warehouse development which actually I believe Duofast is currently located in. That's a brick, but the rear of those buildings I think are metal, but they're kind of hidden away from everything.
Everything's seen from the road though, is brick.
Yeah, or that building, yes. And then, like I said, the other two buildings that are built there are pretty much all brick. So this would be obviously less brick, obviously, because it's about half and half with the brick.
Yeah, I was looking at the drawings of it, and it looks like it's probably not even half and half. It looks like it's probably heavier on the EFS side, maybe than the brick side. And I understand the visual part of it coming from the interstate, I get that, but I think it would do us favors to try to be a little more consistent with matching up what's along that roadway from a design perspective, if we can. In other words, what I'm trying to avoid is, just me talking out loud, what I'm trying to avoid is making this look like a warehouse amongst office buildings.
Right. I understand, and it's obviously it is a mix. I mean, it's
Right.
largely a warehouse, but you have to have the kind of the retail showroom piece in the front, but
But that front is heavy on EFS as well.
What's gonna be seen even from interstate or even out on Parkway will be either the side or the back too, so I mean, it's gonna be very visible. From
Well, a
all-
lot of that down through there is
Yes.
metal.
Yes.
That's why I was asking about the front facade especially.
yeah, the side and rear would be what's visible from Lee Victory, and of course, the one long side being somewhat visible from the interstate. All the doors and everything are gonna be more towards semi-Lee Victory or towards the Amwell Seven Oaks really more than Lee Victory or the interstate. Because the doors are all on that, what would be kind of the east side, northeast side. As far as the roll-up doors and all that part of it.
And you have to be careful with, you want some accent. You have to be careful not to get in there and look like just a institutional brick wall.
Right.
But I'd like to see us try to dress that appearance up a little bit better and make a better fit along that roadway instead of looking like that one is a warehouse and the rest is office space. And I don't know what that consists of, and I don't know if Matt or anybody, can you kind of speak to that? And I know that's not as cost effective, but we're in a neighborhood here.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
Is there 4 elevations? Is there a particular elevation or 2 that are more important than others?
Well, to me, it's just the ones most visible to the neighborhood and not so much the one visible to the highway.
Okay,
But,
well, I heard that you said some of those buildings have some metal on them.
Well, the ones backing up the interstate do. Some of them along the interstate corridor.
Okay.
do.
Where the smaller office warehouse buildings further up Seven Oaks Boulevard, the rear of the buildings.
Would it be, the long wall the very long wall that's against the long ditch, is that visible from, is
Is that where you're going into the floodway, the floodplain back there?
No, it's actually, how would I describe it? It's opposite of the traffic side.
It's the side that kind of faces those warehouses that you
Okay.
talking about.
Can you show us that side you're talking about? In relation to where the street is?
This is, so the street's there, this would be the side that I think that Blake's talking about.
Yeah, that long side and the little piece down there.
I think, it sounds like the side that you're as concerned about is the one that's approximately parallel to Seven Oaks Boulevard.
As much as possible. Andrew, you were going to ask a question?
No,
Okay.
I was just
Yeah.
putting it up.
How visible is that wall that you're talking about?
You've got vacant tracks next to it. There's quite a bit of existing tree, especially along the creek. That's kind of the, between this building and Lee Victory. If they left that alone, you you might not even be able to see it from Lee Victory very well. Obviously, you're going to have a taller building than what's there now, obviously, but there's quite a bit of existing tree line along Lee Victory with where the creek is, which is where all the floodway is, that they're kind of semi-leaving alone.
The back of it, but the long side, if they were to build beside of that, they've exposed it.
They would,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you do have a vacant lot next door.
Then whoever builds beside of it's gonna be, that's gonna be their site, or, they'll
Right.
access that whole piece of property at that point.
Right, and that's, the visibility, as far as the interstate, it's really almost the ramp as you get onto the interstate is where the visibility is going to be, more so probably than the interstate, but,
Yeah, I think this line right here is the actual ramp to
right. Yeah, I mean, they border the interstate right away on that one side.
And I think those sight lines are the ones that probably, for me anyway, concern me the most.
We were attempting to line up what we were doing with what we thought council would want. And I didn't put any metal on there because we just assumed that's just not
I
something.
saw that.
Yeah, I mean,
But what you've done, you've traded it off for EFS.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if that's the place, but we don't like the vertical R-panel, cheap-looking metal building look any more than anybody else does. We think looks exactly like I described it. We just built the Murfreesboro Airport Terminal, and it has horizontal architectural panels mixed in with brick, and there's no EFS on that building at all. But just because it happens to be made out of metal, I think the architecture of it looks really good on there. It's horizontal. The Ford dealership has a lot of it here, and so would it be possible that if we could replace the EFS on the long side that's along the ditch, if we could replace that EFS with some horizontal architectural metal and try to get mostly brick on the other sides, the two sides that are visible with the street, and try to almost delete the EFS as a trade-off, would that be?
I mean, I'd
good
feel better,
trade-off?
honestly, about that than I will. The EFS to me is just a long maintenance item. It starts to discolor, and it starts to, over time, and I know we've got some people, when it gets to council, they're gonna bring it up as well. So we're just trying to kind of head that off a little bit, I guess.
Would that be something that you would consider if we could take?
I don't
I don't
I'd like
know
to
the
hear from the
process,
rest of
I'm
these
sorry.
guys, just see what their thoughts are.
Architecturally, we can make it look very good, I think. Like I said, I don't like that, it's an R panel, it's the cheap-looking stuff. But the horizontal architectural panels, there's no exposed fasteners. It is very long life. The paint on it's 40-year paint, and it's usually thicker because it's architectural. It works well in a...
Is it a flat panel or a textured panel?
No, it has texture to it. It has horizontal lines to it.
Right.
It's usually a thicker gauge than that. You don't see the warpy stuff going on with it. But like I said, we just did it at.
Yeah, I get it. I appreciate the effort. I really do. 'Cause-
Yeah, I don't want to. It's not my place to. I just thought I would bring it up. But if.
Kevin, what's your, from a design perspective, would you prefer architectural, or you think EFS looks better? I mean, what's your take on it?
I mean, I'd like to see what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's,
If you have a
I
good
didn't know if you
opinion on
had
it.
seen it. That's fine.
We have had some, I'm trying to remember what it was, if it was, I don't know if it's the same product, but we have had not too far from this area where the Tennessee Mechanical, their building, when they added on, had some of that, it was not the cheaper stuff he's talking about, it had some of that higher grade architectural type metal
And that
on
looks
it.
pretty nice on that building.
So I don't know if that's exactly what he's talking about or not, so I think if that is, I think that would be fine, you know, especially if on the one side, and then having more brick along the side that's visible from Seven Oaks Boulevard and the residential neighbors that are across the street. I think if it's what he's describing is what we have seen, I would be fine with that, yeah.
I don't know what the rest of these guys have as far as.
Is it a big panel? Is it a one-piece panel
They
that's got?
they are, it's
alignment?
a good question. It's quite different than the stuff that you see that's vertical. The vertical stuff, those are usually 3 foot wide and 100 feet long, or whatever they gotta be. And the screws on the outside, and they kind of puffed out where the insulation does it. The horizontal panels have no exposed fasteners, and the corrugation is actually a little bit more pronounced, but it looks good, it looks appropriate. And if, once you think about it and you look at different architecture that's out there, it's used quite often at high-end architecture. I totally get the vertical R panel. I hate it more than anyone. I think it's terrible. But I don't want to wear out that airport. We just did that job. Matt did it with us, and we've got brick and these horizontal panels.
Is that it up there?
No, that's brick.
Put your glasses on, Matt.
He's pulling up the wrong picture. He's got brick
Why you
on.
don't ask us so
Yes,
So
good
the-
thing he's over there.
The
But
panel
I
you're
think
talking,
it doesn't look good if the whole building is that.
Right.
It doesn't, but
needs something to break up the brick too.
as a feature that, especially up high, and especially if it's, broken up a little bit, and usually on the back side, that would be broken up with the downspouts coming by. And I don't think, if I understand, that side there is not the most visible. I think that it would be, if it were mine and you were gonna try to stay in the same budget, you could probably change those rear panels to more architecture and stick a lot more brick on the visible sides, and it's a good-looking building. I mean, I'm not in love with the ephes either, but it's kind of, when you take a warehouse-type building and you run the brick up 20-something feet in the air, it's not the cost of the brick that's causing the problem, it's that the building has to be extra stiff, and that's what really is causing the issues. And since the inside of the building is going to be warehouse-looking, it's kind of a good compromise to try to use some horizontal panels, but maybe on the side with the truck docks and the office on the front, if that became very much primarily brick, I think it would benefit.
Even the back, the longest wall too, because if somebody develops next door, which they're going to, we've got to look at whatever's currently hiding there, or would be hiding that now. If it's gone, what are they gonna see? For future use? So we want to make sure that's addressed as well. But yeah, if you do a whole brick, I understand the structural and there's no breakup in it.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I think that we could probably show you some examples of those things being mixed together. It makes a really interesting building.
Yeah.
For everybody would go, well, if you go to Maryland Farms, everything is brick, and you go over there and it doesn't look good. It's just a big one-colored brick. And this, we would mix the color of the bricks, and if you were open to that, we could maybe introduce some architectural panels. And I think it looked exceptionally good. If the airport we just finished, and I think it looks great. It has these same panels I'm suggesting. So would that be something that we should present, or is that a possibility?
I think it's a strong possibility from my perspective. I'm with Vice Mayor Atkins as far as the more brick features to the neighborhood. But again, I like the idea of a mix. I've seen the airport, so I'm familiar with it, and I think it's a good-looking product for the backside there.
You know, one of the things I pointed out earlier is that this is along Seven Oaks, and along Seven Oaks is also residential. So we're trying to protect
I understand.
the appearance and so forth along that roadway. And so that's why I kind of pointed it out and asked you that question. So consistency down through there, I think, matters to us.
Okay. So what would the process be for us to submit, just come back?
Let's talk through that. What can we do?
Well, I mean, you can do a couple things. You could defer this and ask them to come back next month with the revisions, or you could approve it with some guidance and let staff review, and it's really however you all want to, how comfortable you all feel with us reviewing it, or if you want to see it again, really is what it comes down to.
How do you guys feel about it?
I'd like to see it.
I'd like to see it.
Okay,
So if we could just ask you maybe to request deferral for a month
okay.
and bring it back and show, if you can, if you have access to that material to bring a sample.
Sure.
That'd be awesome.
Sure. Can I just reiterate to make sure I bring it back right?
Sure, go ahead.
This wall that's along the ditch, I think if it were brick up to a certain point and horizontal metal panels above that, like I said, the downspouts would give it a vertical break. Probably this little end wall down here. I think certainly that wall up there along the roadway, that could just be brick. We could
Yeah, I
change
think
the brick
predominantly
colors up.
I think you're
so
on the
that-
right
That's a
track.
shorter,
it's
that's a
not-
shorter height to that part of it. That's the showroom piece
Yeah,
of
and
it.
I think we can change the colors. The architecture guy's really good with color tones and things. But if we made that lower roof area that's right up there against the street and it comes back, I think 25 feet or 50 feet, I can't remember. Make all of that brick with a nice design, and then maybe we can get the brick up a couple more feet on the side where the truck docks are. I personally think it'll look a lot better. We're not in love with the ephes either, but we kind of were trying to guess at what looked right, so.
Yeah. And
we'd
EFS
be
looks
happy to
good
bring
for
it
a
back.
while.
I'm sorry?
EFS does look good for a while. It's a good accent, but this
Yeah.
had a lot of it, and I'm afraid over time that's going to show some age, so.
Yeah, I mean, it can be repaired, but I mean, the horizontal architectural panels are much more durable.
Right.
That's,
Yeah,
from
if you
that
can bring that
standpoint.
back and maybe show us, bring your airport project, a picture of that or
Sure.
something, show it to us, and that way I think we'll have a better understanding what it is your idea is,
Yeah.
and maybe meet us with
Yeah,
that.
I'd be happy to do that. I'd like it to look that way
Sure.
myself. I mean, it's always a balance, but
Yeah.
we would like for it to look right. So, time-wise, before the next meeting, I need to submit it to,
Yeah, just submit something to us, or,
Okay.
I mean, February 4th, I think. First Thursday of February is our next meeting, so if you
Okay.
get at least a week ahead of that, it'll be fine.
okay. Yeah, I think that's actually kind of fun. Glad to hear
Yeah,
that. that's
show off and make it
possibility.
look good, that's what
Oh,
we're.
I would love it. That's a great opportunity. We'll bring you something back. Thank you.
So do we need a motion to defer?
Probably just need to formally defer
I'll
that.
make the
to-
motion to defer till next week.
I have a motion to defer. Do I have a second? I have a motion to defer and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion to defer, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion to defer carries. January bond review.
Yes, we have a few tonight. First one, Section 2 of the villages. It's 31 out of 33 lots built, so it's about 94% built out. To talk with this developer, they did ask us to extend it. They do, and so we have had this one about 2.5 years now, so I do want to, I'm okay extending it, but I don't want to extend it more than 6 months. I do want them to go ahead and get this one finished soon, I think, because they are getting about built out, so. But, so would recommend a 6-month extension there. The Woodmont, Section 6A, this one's about 77% built out. They are waiting to finish the paving till they build or finish with a few more of the houses, so. Again, this one's in a similar situation. We've had it about 2.5 years, actually approaching 3 years, so, on this one. So I don't want to extend it much more, but 6 months, I'm okay with a 6-month extension there. The Antique Tower, it's called Antique because that's the nearest street. That's a cell tower that was built in BZA approval. They were required to pave a driveway. And this is one where this actually is the site that is within Derby Run, which is a subdivision you all saw last month. And they have asked us to extend this again. The subdivision is about to get going, and so they would like to be able to just pave a much shorter piece of the driveway, not the entirety of the driveway, all the way back out to Rocky Fork Campbell Road. So we're okay with that extension. And then Cedar Hills, Section 2, Phase 1. This one is about 100% built out now, but it has actually we've only had this one a year. We did recommend a one-year extension on this. They would not be able to pave before February, so we do recommend an extension on that one. And that's it.
Questions for Kevin?
Motion to approve the bond review report.
A motion to approve the bond review report. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the bond review report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Staff comments or other business?
I don't have anything else.
Anything from the commission? We stand adjourned.